welcome, welcome. Thank you guys all for being here and welcome to the 2026 Border Security Expo. Thanks to all of you as well who joined us last night. That was a great welcome reception, and a special shout out to EAC, Casey Durst. She did an amazing job. Where are you at, ma'am? Huge thank you for kicking that off. I also want to recognize our sponsor for last night, SMX, and thank them for sponsoring such a great event. Border Security Expo is the defining event that brings together federal, state, and local government leaders, along with industry partners, all of you out here, to address some of our nation's most critical border security challenges. I know you all know this, everybody in this room, but border security is national security, and it takes a village to identify, to classify, respond to, and resolve the threat. One thing I've learned throughout my career is that no single entity can do this alone. Defending the homeland is the primary mission of DHS, but many others play a vital role in protecting this great nation. Over the next 2 days, you will hear from subject matter experts from DHS, DOJ, DOW, as well as state and local leaders who are all part of that mission. The Border Security Expo is critical to supporting the national security work of these agencies. As many of you have seen, the Expo has continued to evolve over the years, just like the challenges that we face. And it will continue to do so as we bring forward the latest voices, ideas, technologies, and solutions in the border and national security space. I'm really excited about this week, and I will tell you this event was a tough one to get going, but it's great to see so many of you here, and as we always do, we came through again. So I'm really looking forward to spending the next couple of days with you all. And none of this would be possible without the hard work and the dedication of our incredible advisory board. And some of you may have noticed, new to the team this year, are our ambassadors. They've helped us amplify our voices within the community. So please, if you would, join me in thanking our advisory board and I would also be remiss if I did not thank our exhibitors and all of our wonderful sponsors. Please make sure that you spend some time on the exhibit floor and see the latest technologies and capabilities being showcased. And of course, take full advantage of the networking opportunities over the next couple of days here at the Expo. And one final special thanks to GTSC's Homeland Security Today, the media arm of this mission, for adding their powerful platform to amplify the voices, innovations, and operational insights of the community. All right, now I know you guys are tired of listening to me speak, so let's get this Expo going, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem being performed by United States veteran and national recording artist, Dave Bray.
Stand by. Congo, take all uniformed personnel. I'll take. Present.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. In the rocky track lay the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you so much, Dave. He always does such an amazing job on the anthem. You may all be seated. All right, time to really get things going now. Our opening keynote speaker, really this morning, he needs no introduction. He has spent, I think it's 44 years now, serving this country, from his days as a young Border Patrol agent to the current role that he sits in today. It truly is my honor and privilege to introduce a man who I know personally really has been the biggest supporter of the men and the women and the mission of DHS, someone I am proud to call my friend. Welcome to the stage, U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan.
I can't see shit. I see Luke. That's in the front row, I can't see it. All right, well, thanks, Carla. Carla was one hell of a border patrol chief. And I'm a little pissed off, but I was supposed to sing the national anthem. So, okay, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about the greatest president in my lifetime, Donald Trump. I don't care if you like him or love him. I love the guy because no one's done more for border security and immigration enforcement, law enforcement than President Trump. When he called me up, this is the second time I came out of retirement for the president. My wife's still pissed off that I came back, but you know, she got that for 4 years straight. I woke up every day pissed off about what the Biden administration did to our border. We got to remember, we handed the Biden administration the most secure border in the nation's history in Trump 45. In a matter of weeks, we went from the most secure border to historic illegal immigration. So I was actually out to dinner with my wife, and right after the last election, and I'm sitting at dinner with my wife, and my phone's sitting on the table, and it started going off. It says POTUS. My wife looks at me, she goes, "Oh shit, you're not going to go back, are you?" And I says, "Who knows?" So I walked outside and talked to him, and he said, "You've been bitching about it for 4 years. You want to come back and fix it?" So how do you say no to that? So I came back, and he assigned me 3 things to do. On that phone call, he said, "I want you to do 3 things. I want you to oversee and create the most secure border this nation's ever seen. I want you to run a mass deportation operation. I want you to find these 300,000 missing children that were trafficked across the border in the Biden administration, and they lost track of it." So I was honest with him. I said, "Look, secure the border, no problem." I says, "Men and women at the border patrol, they know how to do that. They did it in Trump 45. They can dust off the blueprints, do a few extra things. They can even beat Trump 45. That can happen in weeks." I said, "Mass deportation, well, that's easy. Over 10 million illegal aliens came to the border under Biden, so we got plenty of target-rich cities we can go to and have a mass deportation. Finding the kids, that's going to be the toughest of it all. Because I knew that, you know, when the Biden administration, over 500,000 kids were smuggled in the country under his administration, just under 500,000. And I knew they were releasing them to people that weren't properly vetted, or not vetted at all. And I knew that was going to be tough. So I told the president, I says, "We can find you. You own a car, you own a home, you pay utility bills. We know how to find you. You've got this digital footprint. But how do we find a child who has no digital footprint? That's going to be the toughest of it all." And so I was straight up right from the beginning on the task at hand. So where do we end up today? Because of the men and women of the United States Border Patrol, who I was. I was in the Board Patrol, and those in the audience in the Board Patrol. The most badass Board Patrol class in the history of the United States Board Patrol is class 167. I heard the bullshit. Get them out of the audience. 167 is the baddest class in the history of the United States Board Patrol. Why? Because I was in it. I know who's saying this. This is, I know who you are. We'll be talking tonight. Because of the men and women of the United States Border Patrol, we have the most secure border in the history of the nation today. The best border ever in the history of the nation. Because the men and women wearing that green uniform. God bless them. The border's never been more secure. Think about that. I remember days on the Biden administration, 12,000, 13,000 people come to the border. The average number right now, 200, a little less. Difference is, none of those 200 are being released. Either being returned or being detained to be returned. 0 releases in 11 months on the southern border because of this president and the men and women of the Border Patrol. So you can't argue the success of this administration when it comes to border security. What does that mean? Border security means you got stronger national security, and we're saving lives every day. And why do I say that? Because under Joe Biden, over 4,000 aliens died making that journey. Because the promise was made to the whole world, come to our border, you can enter illegally, we're going to process you within 24 hours, we're going to put you on an airplane to the city of your choice, we're going to give you a free hotel room, we're going to give you 3 meals a day, and we're going to give you free medical care. Who the hell wouldn't take advantage of that? And because you made that offer to the entire world, the most vulnerable people in the world gave their life savings to the cartels to make that journey. Over 4,000 aliens died making that journey in Joe Biden, an historic record. We also had historic fentanyl coming across the border on Joe Biden and killed over 250,000 Americans. Sex trafficking of women and children skyrocketed. 31% of women that make that journey admitted to be sexually assaulted. If 31% of women admitted to being sexually assaulted, how many actually got sexually assaulted? When you got 97% less people coming, like it's happening right now, how many women aren't being raped? How many kids aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't coming across the country to kill Americans? President Trump and the men and women of the Border Patrol are saving thousands of lives every month. That's a stone cold fact. So these people, the media, who wants to say our policy is inhumane, we're cruel. No, we're saving 1,000 lives. The most humane thing you can do is secure your border. That'll save thousands of lives. It prevents sexual assaults. It prevents sex trafficking and drugs coming across. No, what this administration is doing is the most humane thing we could do. Under the Biden administration, the record amount of Americans are dying, the record amount of aliens are dying. There's nothing humane about that. So we've got the most secure border in the history of the nation, okay? And we're going to continue looking at, I'm just talking to Rodney Scott, a great CBP commissioner, and there's plans to do more, to finish technology on that border. Rodney's going to talk about it. I know he's on a panel here afterwards. He's going to talk about the more steps we're going to do. All the wall we're going to build. There's going to be hundreds of miles of wall built by the end of this administration. We're going to complete the mission under President Trump's, while he's in office. Second thing, mass deportations. Looking at the numbers, there's about 800,000 removals between ICE and Border Patrol since President Trump's been in office. The most significant year, the record prior to this was 409,000 under Barack Obama. We deported 409,000 people. I got an award from that. President Obama gave me a Presidential Rank Award. They don't want to admit to it now, but they gave me one. Now to forget about it. But we shattered that record. For the people out there saying President Trump's getting weak on mass deportation, you know what the hell are you talking about? These keyboard warriors and these people who are no longer in the arena, they got to understand mass deportation. President Trump made a promise to American people, and that's going to happen. We already got the numbers that are in historic record. We're going to keep doing it. Matter of fact, I just had a meeting with the Secretary this morning talking about what more we're going to do in the next couple of months. We're in the process of hiring 10,000 more deportation officers. If you think last year's historic number was good, wait till next year. I got 10,000 more agents on the board. You ain't seen shit yet. This year will be a good year. Mass deportations are coming. But as the president said from day one, criminals, public safety threats, and national security threats have to be a priority. If we got a criminal here, we got a non-criminal there. You always got to get this guy first because he poses the biggest risk to our community. He's got to go first. That's common sense. Every law enforcement agency in the nation does that. We're going to be no different. It doesn't mean because you prioritize criminals, everybody else is off the table. Matter of fact, we look at the numbers right now. About 65% of everybody arrested right now is a criminal. 35% are not criminal. Sometimes it flows 60-40. So let's say 60% are criminal and 40% not criminal. Does anybody think the numbers would be better if it was 40% criminal, or 40% criminal, 6% not criminal? Of course it is. So that's what we're doing. So mass deportation promise will happen. Just past year, the first year in the Trump administration, we had record numbers of arrests, record numbers moved, historic record. And we'll beat that record this year. Where are we at with the children? Right about now, since President Trump's in office, we're looking for 300,000 children. We're looking for children that have no digital footprint. So we got to count on the digital footprint of the sponsors. Sponsors weren't properly vetted, addresses given that weren't checked. So right now, when HSI and the FBI goes out looking at these kids, a lot of these addresses are churches, parking lots, shopping centers, or don't exist at all. But because of all the problems we have trying to locate people that don't have that sort of digital footprint, we run into situations every day that these addresses just don't exist, and the sponsor's information is wrong and it wasn't vetted properly. But despite all of that, the men and women of ICE have already found 146,000 children. 146,000. 146,000 children that the last administration wasn't even looking for. So I don't want to hear the crap about how the Trump administration is inhumane. President Trump's leadership, the men and women of ICE, the men and women of FBI, located 146,000 children. Now, how many were in danger? Not all of them were in danger, but many, too many, were victims of sex trafficking, sex slavery, forced labor. That's what the last administration did. We're rescuing these kids. Now, how about the remaining 150,000? Well, a lot of them have aged out, over 18. But I still gave a directive to find them. Just because they're over 18 doesn't mean they're not victims of sex trafficking or forced labor trafficking. We got to find these people. And many we're going to rescue because they're living like a hell of a day. And I made a promise, President Trump made a promise, we will not stop until we locate every single one of them, or at least give everything we got to find them. Will we find all of them? No, I'm not an idiot. We already know about 14 of them that died. Some by suicide, some by homicide, some for natural causes. But we won't give up to find every one of them, at least run down every lead. And when we finish running down every lead, we run down those leads again. And I make this commitment because I give a shit. I won't stop on this task until the day I die. So when I retire for the third time, I will be involved with some organization somehow to stay engaged in this. Because I have a commitment to myself that I'm going to work this as hard as I can until I take my last breath on this earth to rescue children. Now, I hear a lot of stories about Marco Rubio's got a lot of jobs. No one's got more jobs. I've got more jobs than Marco Rubio. I'm on the record. I got these 3 jobs, and only, so I get a phone call one morning from the president, very early. Calls me up, hey, what are you doing? I'm sleeping. He says, well, what do you think about sending us to the airports? I said, sir, I think that's a brilliant idea. He goes, good, you're in charge. All right? And let's talk about that for a minute. Talk about the genius move that was. Not only do you do ICE enforcement, we already have a footprint at most airports anyways because of currency smuggling and human trafficking. But have ICE there, number one, to fill the gaps of security, because we're in a heightened threat posture right now with what's happening in the world, a lot of threats coming, right? So when TSA was either calling out or quitting, That puts security airport at risk. So we can fill those gaps to make sure that airport's as secure as can be, first of all. Second of all, we did help move those lines quicker. Every airport line started moving quickly. Some faster than others, but by the end, they were all moving a lot quicker than they were. What it also do, it gave the American people a close encounter with men and women of ICE, who's been vilified by the media, vilified by members on the House and the Senate, comparing ICE to Nazis, secret police, racists, you name it. I may call all of them, but I simply don't care what people think about me. I never have and never will. That's one of the best things about this job. You can write all the bad stories you want about me. You can call me everything you want to call me, and I'm gonna get up the next day and do this job. Matter of fact, when I get tired, I'm old, not as old as Luke, but I'm old, and I get tired. And when I read a hit piece in the morning, I say, all right, let's go. I'm gonna go back to work the next day and fire at it. But the men, and I expect that, as borders are, I expect that because I got a big mouth, I say what I think. But the men and women of ICE, the men and women who strap that gun to the head and wear that Kevlar vest every day to go out there and put their lives on the line for this nation, they don't deserve that shit. And for any member of Congress to compare them to the Nazis or racists is the ultimate insult. Because if we're Nazis for enforcing immigration law, what's that make you? You wrote the law. We're just doing what you wrote. We're just enforcing the laws that you enacted and was signed by a president. And we're not going to apologize for doing it. So the airports gave the American people an opportunity to get close to ICE agents and see them interact with the traveling public. And they weren't wearing masks. Why weren't they wearing masks? Because they're in a safe airport environment. That is a clear example of why it's necessary to wear a mask when you're in a city and you got people attacking you, threatening you, doxing your spouses, doxing your children. Threats are up over 8,000%. 8,000%. So that's a clear example. I don't like masks. I wish they didn't have to wear them. But because of the hateful rhetoric of members of the media and members of Congress and governors and mayors who don't know what the hell they're talking about, that's necessary. Matter of fact, while I'm doing the airports, I also got assigned to go up and negotiate reopening of DHS. Sitting down there with members of Congress on both sides on what they're going to take to open up DHS. And a lot of things are brought up. Well, we want you guys out of central locations. Churches, schools, hospitals. I says, give me one example where we arrested somebody in the church. Give me one example where anybody was arrested inside an elementary school. Give me one example where anybody was arrested inside a hospital. Just give me one, because I want to understand the problem here. There is no problem, because none of that happened. But the media says it happens, members of Congress say it happens. Bullshit. And let me be clear. If you're a significant public safety threat or national security threat, you have no sanctuary in this nation. You can't hide anywhere if you're a national security threat. We're going to go, we're going to find you, we're going to arrest you. But now one example of us arresting people in these locations. Matter of fact, the only people that violated the sanctity of a church was Don Lemon and that bunch. This is the misinformation we deal with every day. And I'm getting a little pissed off talking about it because that's what I deal with every day. The misinformation that's planted on purpose to turn the American people against the men and women who strap that gun on their hip every day, put their lives on the line. They said, well, we want names and badge numbers. We already have names and badge numbers. We want body cameras. Already agreed to body cameras. As a matter of fact, the bill you're holding up gives us another $160 million to buy more cameras. So what exactly do you want? What they want is not to reform ICE. They want to shut ICE down. That's what they want. And as long as I'm involved in this, I will never surrender any policy or any operational instruction of ICE and Border Patrol. I will not put these men and women at risk. I will not take their authorities away. I will not take their legal responsibilities away. I won't take their mission away. I'm not going to do it. There's on the panel, next panel, first of all, you're going to have a couple of great guys. Rodney Scott's a personal friend of mine. What an amazing job he's done on the border. So please, when you see him, give him a round of applause. The most secure border in history nation. Then a friend of mine, Todd Lyons, who just announced his retirement. He's leaving in 2 weeks. I think he's going to be up for also. I know Todd personally. Todd has done, he put up with hell for the past year. Attacks at his house, attacks with his spouse, attacks on him and his family, his kids. I know what that's like. So I have death threats against my spouse and my family. And so it happened a lot of men and women to ICE. It's because the hateful rhetoric being pushed by members of the Hill and the media. So Todd, I know I'm not going to see if I got another meeting after this. I know you're somewhere around here. I appreciate your service to the nation, the sacrifice you and your families made. God bless you in your retirement, and congratulations on a job well done. So let me leave with this, because I don't know how much time I got, but you want to try to get me off stage, come give it a shot. We're going to continue with this mission. We're not giving an inch. We're going to enforce the laws of this country without apology. Places like New York, was getting ready to sign legislation to end all 287G agreements. Making it illegal for any sheriff to give us a bed, to let us buy a bed to house an illegal animal. Here's what they need to understand. We're not going to stop doing the job. You want to do that to us? You want to release public safety threats in the community? Okay. So rather than one agent arresting a public safety threat in the safety and security of the jail, which is safer for the alien, safer for the officer, safer for the community, you want to release them because you don't want to work with us? Okay. So rather than one agent arresting one bad guy, now we're going to send a whole few jobs team to go find this person. 6 or 7 guys. So what's going to happen in places like New York and these other people that want to pass this ridiculous legislation not to work with us? We're going to flood the zone. You're going to see more ICE agents you've ever seen before. So congratulations. Because when we send these teams out there, we'll find the bad guy. Most times we do. And when we find the bad guy, he's with others. Others who may not be a priority target, but they're in the country illegally. There weren't people we were looking for, but we found them during these operations. Well, guess what? They're coming too. You're going to see collateral arrests increase in these areas. You're going to see more agents in your neighborhoods because you forced us in this position. I don't want to hear this crap from these mayors and governors saying, well, we're a sanctuary because we're a welcoming community. We want illegal alien victims and witnesses of crime to feel safe coming to law enforcement to report those crimes. That's just a line of shit. Victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back in the neighborhood either. They want the bad guy off the street. That's why they're the victim, that's why they're a witness. They want the bad guy locked up too. If you go to any immigrant community and ask them, would you rather have ICE in your community or in the jail? What do you think they want to say? Most illegal aliens in this country, even though they're illegal and they got a problem with that, a lot of them are God-fearing family people that want their family safe too. They don't want a sexual predator in their neighborhood. They don't want someone arrested for DUI driving through their neighborhood with their kids. So don't believe the garbage you read about sanctuary cities being welcoming and protecting the immigrant community. They're putting the immigrant community at risk. They're putting the victims and witnesses at risk, releasing the bad guy back into the street. So to these communities that do that, you're not going to win this. You're not going to win this. So we're not giving up. President Trump was put in the Oval Office for one big reason. A lot of reasons, but the main reason, immigration enforcement. Secure the border and enforce immigration law. And people want to say this mass deportation is a cruel term, and you know it's inhumane, and it's cruel and racist. The reason we have a mass deportation is a response to mass illegal immigration, historic mass illegal immigration. Because what they did for 4 years on the border, it requires a mass deportation. Because despite what everybody says, they can come to the border, claim asylum all they want. But if you look at the court records, immigration court records, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at our border end up with an order of removal. They're not asylum seekers. They're not seeking, protection, because of fear and persecution from the home country because of race, religion, political affiliation. They're coming here for a better life, and I get that. I understand that. But while you're making these false claims to asylum by the millions, there are actually people in this world that really are escaping fear and persecution from their home government, and they're sitting in the back of the bus because you load the system up with millions of fake cases. And people, like, I did a Bill Maher show a couple months ago, and he said, wow, someone's been here 20 years, the rest of them is cruel, and why don't you, she's a housekeeper, and I said, we already said what we prioritize, but I've said no one's off the table. Why is that? I don't care how long you've been here. If you're here illegally, enter this country legally, you cheated. You cheated the system, put yourself in front of the line ahead of millions that are taking their tests, doing their background investigation, paying the fees to be part of the greatest nation on earth. If you want to be part of the greatest nation on earth, the first thing you shouldn't do is violate our laws. And put yourself in front of the line with people who are doing it the right way. And prioritization of public safety interests makes sense, but the reason I say no one's off the table is because of this. And we are, like I said, about 40% of people arrested aren't a criminal. Why is that necessary? Because if you want to send a message to the whole world, you can enter this country legally, don't worry about it. As long as you don't commit another crime, no one's looking for it. If that's the message we send, we're never going to fix this problem. We're a nation of laws, we're going to enforce them. It's a crime to enter this country legally, and you're going to be treated as such. I understand someone's been here for a while, is less of a threat than those who entered in the last 4 years. I get it. But to pick and choose sends a message to the whole world that this country is serious about our borders, we're not serious about the immigration laws. Especially in times of today when there's heightened threat posture, we need to control who comes in this country. We need to know who comes in this country. They need to be properly vetted, which didn't happen in the last 4 years. President Trump, 45, we had 14 people up terrorist watch list, arrested at the southern border. 14. Biden in 4 years, over 400. Now, we got a president who's going to put this country first and put American citizens first. We're a welcoming country. We welcome more refugees and immigrants in this country than every other country on the face of the earth. So I want to hear about this cruel and callous country. It's a very giving country. But we've got to have standards, we've got to have rules. And as long as I know the borders are, we're going to force every one of them. And you got my word. With that, I'm going to shut up. And I'm sorry I can't, they wanted me to stay on the panel. I got other meetings I need to be at. I'll be at the board total event tonight. Look, if I offended anybody here today, I don't care. I'll tell you a quick story. I was doing a Texas Public Policy Foundation in Texas a while ago, and it was live streamed. And my wife, God bless her, and she deserves better. I was doing my thing, and I had a phone sitting on the table next to my chair, and I was being interviewed. It was shrewdest chairs, and I had my phone sitting there. I kept buzzing, I looked down, and I had my wife's name on it. So while one of the guys talking, reached down and touched it, opened it, she goes, "Stop swearing." Can't help it. Great event. Please, for you people in the room, let me end with this. We can't do the job as good as we can without industry. There's a lot of smart people out there, a lot of smart products, a lot of smart technology. We're cops. I have trouble turning my computer on, let alone doing the technology that's available to a lot of people out there. I thank you to the vendors here for stepping up and helping us secure this nation. We can't do it without you. The men and women of Border Patrol, and the men and women of ICE could not do their job without your support. So God bless you for being here. I hope a lot of good conversations will continue here, because here's our goal. Finish completing border security across the line. Ryan and Scott's going to talk about it. Even though we got the most secure border in history, there's more to do, a lot more to do. Need your help. ICE, we need your help. We got a lot of people to arrest. We got a lot of targeting we got to do. We got a lot of smart systems. We need help finding people that don't want to be found, like I just discussed. So God bless you for stepping up and helping us complete this mission. God bless President Trump. God bless the United States of America. And God bless you all for being here. Thank you very much for being here.
Tom Homan, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. All right, we'll keep this party going.